Well, it sounds
Yeah.
like being a religious person is a wrong thing according to your approach.
No, no one's saying being a religious person is a wrong thing. I have lots of friends who are religious people and I love them and they're good people. And I don't think they're doing a wrong thing. I think that certain religious ideas are very harmful, very damaging, and very toxic.
Which one of
And
those?
chief
Name
among
one
them,
right now at this point.
chief
One right
among
now at
them,
this modern
I'm,
world.
I'm about to, chief among them is the idea that people should be held morally accountable for not being convinced of things. That to me is the most idiotic idea we've ever
You've
thought
been
of.
to you narrow it down, please, to an event or a situation or something more concrete?
I mean, have you
Going
read
to
the
hell.
have you read the Bible?
Ideology.
I beg your pardon?
It's ideology. Going to hell is
So
ideology. It's a dogma, not a biblical.
in the Bible, there's an idea, and in Islam as well, in the Quran as well, there's an idea that if you don't
Yes.
believe the right things, then you're going to be punished for that lack of belief. That lack of belief
There's no.
creates a
That is not true.
well, you may say it's not true, but doctrinally, it absolutely is true that those books say that.
Doctrine, right? Doctrine. That's a dogma. That's a
Yeah.
teaching, right?
So when I say in the
But it's not
Bible, what
biblical.
I mean is I'm referring to the contents of the Bible. That's what I mean
Okay,
by
read
that,
it. Read it.
right?
Read it dogmatically. Go read it
Well, it's not
clearly.
dogmatically, it's just what the text says. For example, those who believe in him are not condemned, but those who do not believe are condemned already because they have not believed in the name of the only Son of God. So here you have a passage in the Bible, and this is not the
Uh-huh.
only one. This is John 3:18, but Mark 16:16 adds to this the requirement to be baptized, and there are a number of other places as well
Okay.
where this
Okay.
idea is put forward, right? That if you don't find yourself convinced of
Gotcha.
the right things, that there's a punishment in store for you, and that's righteous, that's moral, that it's good, it's ethical, you kind of deserve it. And I think that's an idiotic idea, because if you don't believe it, you don't believe it.
Agree.
And that's the only point. That's why I say nobody chooses what they believe on its own is a fairly kind of pointless statement. It doesn't really matter. Where it becomes
Okay.
important is when we then look at how much sense it makes to punish people or reward them based on what they believe. That's why it's
Okay.
important.
Okay.
That's
Now,
why I say
to
it.
my point to that, there's nowhere in that reference there is a mentioning of hell. And number two, that is interpretation. And number three, that was not written literally to none of us.
So here's Jesus talking about what happens to the non-believers.
To who?
Do not
To who that gospel was written?
to his followers. Do not fear who were worried
Okay.
about being persecuted. So he's saying they were worried about being persecuted by the authorities or being killed. And he says, don't fear those who kill the body, but can't kill the soul. Rather, fear the one who can destroy both body and soul in hell. Right? That's pretty disgusting, right? And here he is again
Yes. Yes,
in
it
Book of
is.
Matthew talking about what happens to non-believers. And they will throw
Okay.
them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And this idea of
Okay.
fire and things is repeated a few times throughout in the Book of Matthew. The weeping and gnashing of teeth isn't referencing
Okay.
having a lovely time, is it? It's referencing
Not at
some
all.
sort of punishment, and that punishment is attached to non-belief, and that's the whole point
And I'll
of what
go
we're saying
back.
here.
And I'll go back to my first point. That was not written to none of us.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it wasn't written to you or me.
It does matter, because when you read a book, right? Do you care if it's speaking to you, or you just want to be informed of what they're
Right.
saying?
Well, then go out and speak to the 1.5 billion Christians in the world who are telling people that this pertains
Well,
to
they
them.
choose to believe
Don't
that.
complain
That's
to
okay.
me. Well,
That
that's
doesn't
the
make it true.
point.
That doesn't make
They
it true,
don't.
though,
But hang on,
right?
here we come right back to the beginning. You say if they choose to believe that, they don't choose to believe it. They become convinced of it by the people they trust
Okay,
to tell
but
them.
that doesn't make it.
By
That doesn't make
the
it true, though.
people they trust. I agree. Doesn't make it true, but they can become
Okay.
convinced of it by the people they trust to tell them how the universe works and what's real. Normally, their parents,
Okay.
normally their primary caregivers, or the people entrusted to
Well,
educate
it's
them.
their fault if you're still 30 or
Well,
40 some years old, still believing those
I'm sorry
erroneous teachings.
Well, the fact is, I have a slightly more compassionate view about these
You don't.
things than
Stop acting like you're compassionate.
it sounds like you do. You're just saying, well, if they're stupid enough to believe it, then screw them. I take a
I didn't say
different
that.
view.
You're saying that.
Well, you said it's
No, you
their
don't,
fault.
because you act like you're compassionate.
You
Like you're
said
compassionate.
Dude, you got to stop talking over John.
it would be helpful if you could allow me to finish the sentence in my live stream. That'd be great. Thanks. So you said that it's their fault if they are going to choose to believe it, which is just full of mistakes, because it doesn't take account of the fact that people are indoctrinated into beliefs. They don't choose to believe them. They're indoctrinated into them, and it doesn't take account of the amount of harm that these beliefs do when they're taught to children as facts. Children are told these things by their parents.
You're spreading lies.
Well, I'm not spreading lies. I'm just telling you how these things work.
No, I don't, because I've been a believer all my life and it hasn't harmed me. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm not making a claim that it harms every believer. Obviously, that would be idiotic, which is why I've said before many times that for many people, religion is a really helpful thing. It's a fantastically helpful thing for some people. It gives them meaning, purpose, structure, comfort, solace. I get it. I've got no problem with that. If you're a believer and you're happy in your faith and it's giving you stuff in your life and helping you, good for you. I'm not interested in even taking that away from you. But the moment you start telling me that I deserve to go to hell for not believing your stories, then we have a problem.
And I have a problem with that too. And I agree with you on that.
Good. Well, then it sounds to me like you have a kinder theology than some of your fellow
Not
believers.
a kind of theology. I think the theology is there. It's just that we have not invested in clarifying the erroneous teachings that Western has implemented.
Right. So you have the right interpretation.
I don't have the right one.
Of,
No, I don't have the right interpretation. No, I didn't say that, please, because you act like you're the moral police of religion.
I'm not being the moral police. I'm pointing out the damage that these ideas do. And the damage is irrefutable. And 50 million Americans right now, at this moment, are suffering from PTSD like religious trauma. And 80
Who
million,
said that?
I've read it in reasonable survey data and academic research. Yeah.
Yep. I read that the Spider-Man is real too.
Well, you probably didn't read that somewhere very reliable.
I'm not really feeling here that you're trying to have a genuine exchange of ideas
I'm not
genuine
really feeling
conversation.
it either, because I think you're being a little obtuse, if I may say.
Yeah.
Because I believe that you also being misinformed and spreading false claims.
What false
about
claims?
50 million Americans
what false
suffer from
claims?
PTSD. 50? You said 50 million?
It's tens of millions, yeah.
Tens of millions, now tens of millions.
Yeah.
I think your claim is false and
Go and look it
it's
up.
a lie. I don't need to look it up. You could look it up. I'm not the one
Yeah,
making the
so
claim. Lies could be generated by false assumptions.
And the point of that
Or
is
false information. That your false information could make it seem that there is millions, right? You said 50 millions of believers are suffering PTSD, and that is a false claim that you made up, making it, and your followers would take it like it's true, but you will never prove that or show those true numbers.
right. Okay, I'm trying to find it for you right now. So I did a post on religious
You know what's
trauma
50 million people?
a few months ago.
Ludicrous, bro.
Okay, so this is an abstract on religious trauma. It was a SHERM Journal.
Will you apologize to me that you're falsifying information and sharing it like it's true?
Yeah, absolutely. So It says the sociological study aimed to ascertain the percentage of adults living in the United States who have experienced religious trauma and what percentage presently suffer from religious trauma. After compiling data, the study concludes it's likely that around 1/3 of US adults have experienced religious trauma. What's the population of adults in the United States?
I think the total population is like 300 something million.
What's a third of 300 million?
That third of 300 million?
Yeah.
Would be 100 million.
Okay. I think I rest my case, don't you?
Okay.
I think that's a reasonably well-made case. Okay.
Good. But next time, don't say 50 million.
I should have
said 100.
You're right.
I was just being conservative with my figures. So there we are. I think that probably concludes our business.
So
Okay, so we're going to move on to